What's really interesting to me is the nature of how the Democratic Party protects power and hierarchy. So we were all under the impression, or at least I was, that like if you're an outsider lefty, that's when the claws come out for you. And they do. In that scenario, they definitely do. But what was not as clear to me is, well, what if there's like a centrist, moderate, corporate kind of guy who wants to run? Are they going to not go as hard against that person because they're ideological bedfellows? And I would have guessed they probably won't go as hard against that person because they're ideological bedfellows. It turns out that's wrong. It turns out it's really like an old school approach here from the Democratic Party establishment, where it's like, if you step out of line, if it's not quote unquote your turn, if you didn't shake the right hands and pat the right backs, if you didn't play by the rules of the game that they made up and put on you, then the claws are going to come out and they're going to come after you, even if you are basically a good little boy when it comes to your policy perspectives and the way you vote, right? So Dean Phillips is nobody's lefty. He's nobody's lefty. He's a very moderate Democrat. In fact, in some ways, very similar to Joe Biden, right? But he's running against Joe Biden, and now the power establishment is like, how dare you? So now he's a pariah. So let's walk through this here. Axios says, Dean Phillips standing on Capitol Hill has all but collapsed. Now stop it. Why? Because he decided, I want to run for president. Well, I thought this was a democracy. I thought it's like, hey, may the best man win. You go pitch your ideas, I'll go pitch my ideas, and let the best man win. No, they don't look at it like that. They look at it like this is a closed process. You wait in line. You do what you're told. Very authoritarian. That's the approach here. As Representative Dean Phillips ramps up his long shot bid for president, his Democratic colleagues back in Washington are fuming at what they see as the Minnesotans' betrayal of his party. Now, hold on. Dean Phillips is saying, I'm trying to save the party. I think Joe Biden is going to lose to Donald Trump, and I don't want Trump winning. I'm trying to save us. But notice, they'll straw man you relentlessly. It's just a straw man. You've betrayed us. Betrayed the party by trying to save the party and defeat Trump because I don't think Biden can win? It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to make sense. Their arguments don't. Phillips has undergone a stunningly swift fall from grace and elicits a rare level of hostility from colleagues who elected him to House Democratic leadership just a year earlier, underscoring the perils of challenging party orthodoxy. It's a great line, and that's true. Phillips told Axios he was greeted with much more affection and friendliness than I anticipated when he was back on Capitol Hill last week, but he also said of his colleagues, frankly, the disappointment is mutual. Democrats who see the same polls that I see, he said, have a responsibility to raise their voices and work together to ensure that we maintain a democracy of competition and not coronation. I wish more were willing to torpedo their careers in Congress so as to prevent the torpedoing of our entire country. That's actually a good point. In interviews with Axios, a wide range of House Democrats shared thoughts about Phillips ranging from qualified criticism to outright malice. Quote, I don't think Dean Phillips is earning any new friends in the House Democratic caucus these days, said Representative Pete Aguilar, the chair of the caucus and noted mean girl. Representative Robert Garcia called Phillips' campaign a total joke and very disrespectful to the president and the party, says he's torched his reputation. Joe Biden can barely get through a sentence. Joe Biden needs record amounts of Adderall to get out of bed in the morning. Joe Biden regularly forgets where he is and embarrasses himself and the party and the country on a regular basis. Any words of criticism for that? Or are you just a good little sycophantic bitch boy who falls in line for party orthodoxy? We all know the answer to that. Dean Phillips is not going to win any primary. I think he's not helpful to the country, said former House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer. He seems to be taking a page out of the Trump playbook, said Representative Sidney Kamalger-Dove. It makes me wonder if he's a real Democrat. Here we go. We heard this before. Bernie's not a real Democrat. Why? Because he's challenging the one we've anointed, who's entitled to the victory, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. He's not a real Democrat. Dean Phillips is not a real Democrat. I can't with these people, man. And they're saying he's taking a page out of Trump's playbook. No, what he's saying is, I can't under any circumstances have Trump win again, and I don't think Biden can beat Trump. That's why I'm running. But no, they swat that aside and go, actually, you are taking a page out of Trump's playbook. No, Biden is the selfish one who's making it more likely Trump will win. I think any other candidate has a better chance against Trump than Biden does. But Biden's being the selfish one, and Biden might turn the country back over to Trump. Phillips was first elected to the House in 2018, flipping a Republican-held seat in the Minneapolis suburbs and emerging as a prominent figure in the Democratic caucus's moderate wing. Last November, Phillips was elected as one of 3 co-chairs of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, putting him partly in charge of crafting his caucus's messaging strategy. After spending the summer growing increasingly vocal in his apprehensions about renominating Biden and calling for more high-profile Democrats to challenge him, Phillips resigned from leadership in October and launched his presidential bid that month. Phillips announced last month that he will not seek a 4th term in Congress. The basis for Phillips' campaign is polling that suggests most voters and even many Democrats don't want to see Biden as the Dem nominee. Phillips started out praising Biden and framing his bid in strategic and philosophical terms, but he's since grown willing to go negative, even saying Biden is a threat to democracy. Phillips told Axios his comments were not meant to label Biden himself as a distinct threat to democracy, but were instead a reference to the suppression of competition and cancellation of several primary states. Yeah, look, let's not sugarcoat it. That is literally, definitionally, a direct threat to democracy if you're canceling Democratic primaries, which the Florida Democratic Party did at the behest of the White House. One senior House Democrat described the feeling toward Phillips within the Democratic caucus as pure hatred, saying many members are pissed about his attacks on Biden. So stop and think about this. The Florida Democratic Party literally cancels the Democratic primary. Are the senior House Democrats, do they have pure hatred for the Florida Democratic Party? Are they, quote, pissed about what the Florida Democratic Party did, literally ending democracy for the primary there? No. So look, this is the thing. You guys are exposing yourself as frauds because there's all this highfalutin rhetoric that you make around Trump. Oh my God, democracy is at stake. We can't allow that. It's not acceptable. There's authoritarianism, bro. And look, all that is true vis-a-vis Trump. It's true. But clearly, you don't mean it when you criticize Trump because you're totally fine with being authoritarian in your own respect. You're totally fine with literally canceling an election because you don't like the opponents. You're frauds. You're all frauds. You don't care at all about democracy or process or policy. You're all, little party sycophants. Another factor fueling the anger, the lawmaker said, is Phillips skipping most House votes since launching his campaign and being AWOL as ranking member of a House Foreign Affairs subcommittee focused on the Middle East and the Israel-Hamas war rages. Well, look, to be fair, he's not good on that issue, so I have no problem with him missing those meetings. He says this bullshit position of like, I'm for a ceasefire, but only after all the hostages are released, and that's my position. And he pretends like he's for a ceasefire, but he's really not. So I don't care if he misses meetings. We have serious, credible colleagues running for tough Senate seats. They all show up, they added. Phillips told Axios he assured Democratic leadership he would return for any vote of consequence for which he is needed and would totally understand if he was replaced in his subcommittee role. What has come as a particular surprise to many Democrats is Phillips' rapid transformation from a loyal party man to a renegade. Quote, he was well liked, said the senior Democrat. He's either changed or we were all duped. No, see, this is the thing. He was willing to play the game. He was willing to go along to get along. He was part of that party orthodoxy. He was willing to keep his mouth shut, be a lemming, go along to get along. And then look, at some point it seems like he realized, even though this guy's a centrist, he's a moderate, right? He's a corporate Democrat, there's no doubt about it. But he looked at Biden and said, I don't think he can win again. So I'm going to run. Is there a bit of like, it's all, narcissism and self-aggrandizement? Absolutely, but that's every single politician. There's nobody who's running for president who doesn't have some semblance of narcissism and self-aggrandizement, obviously, right? But also, to look at Biden and go, I don't think he can win, I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. And they make it seem like that's absurd because it's groupthink. It's nothing but groupthink. Look, we don't have to go on here, but you guys get the gist of it. Now the claws come out and they'll start smearing him because he dared to step out of line. So really, it's more about hierarchy. It's more about orthodoxy. It's more about going along to get along. And the bottom line is this. That is not what this country is supposed to be about. We're supposed to have a democracy. We're supposed to say, hey, go ahead. You want to run? By all means, go ahead and run. All right? May the best man win. May the best policy ideas win. Let's do it. Instead, it's literally like shut people out of the process if they're not pre-approved. And like I'm sorry, but this just isn't that much different than rank authoritarian governments. When you're canceling the Florida Democratic primary, but you're just trying to hand it to Biden because you say he's entitled to it, that's authoritarian. It is. And you can't hit us with like, but when we do it, it's okay. We're the good guys by definition. I don't buy that, and nobody buys that. So anyway, I'm not a fan of Dean Phillips policy-wise. I'm really not. But I'm definitely on Dean's side against the party establishment here because what they're showing is, even if you ideologically agree with them, they'll still end you if you dare to speak up and step out of line even 2%. All right, guys, that's the show, y'all. I love y'all very much. Everybody do me a big favor. Please click like. Please click subscribe. All that fun stuff. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. Remember, I've never had a conversation with an advertiser. I'm very proud of that fact. You guys help support this show. You could support on Patreon, the link below, or you could tip with the thanks button on YouTube. And that's all I got for you. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.